technocratic elite, bankers, and politicians await in suspense as the time was running out. So today we will discuss how Greece now has 48 more hours to reach a debt deal. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. I have so much to discuss today, but I just want to get into a few of the fine points and move on as quick as I possibly can. First, we're going to begin with this article out of Bloomberg. European leaders gave the Greek Prime Minister's government 48 hours to make the final push needed to satisfy creditors and end the 5-month standoff over aid that risks splitting the euro. Many are divided on the situation here, the moral hazard that is created in this situation, and the Greek government is unfortunately having this pulled from both sides. So this basically goes into suggesting that the other countries within the Eurozone are happy that they're making some headway on some reforms. So this set of reform measures began to converge with the terms demanded by the creditors. They agreed to step up the pace of negotiations and secure a breakthrough on Wednesday that leaders can sign off at the end of the week. If they go through with this will definitely be a breakthrough, but not a permanent solution. Of course, it never is. It's always temporarily kicking the can down the road. Further down in the article, we have Angela Merkel saying a few words, but what else is new here? So let's look at this as we see Angela Merkel, more on that. But what I wanted to get into was the highlighted portion, and that is the Greek Prime Minister, Mr. Tsipras, has been forced to swallow some front-loaded austerity measures. He will need to be seen to be getting something back in return. What we have here is really going back on what they promised initially, and they are forced to. As I said, they are being pulled and pushed from all sides, and they simply cannot afford to do otherwise. They're doing the absolute minimum in order to keep the IMF happy and in order to keep them out of bankruptcy. This is very interesting to note that they did not want to go into the austerity. They absolutely don't want to go this way because the people are unfortunately going to riot. We're going to see this taking place. They didn't want to touch the pensions. Unfortunately, they have gone that route as well. Let's look at this out of Bloomberg. Asian equities extended a global rally. Amid optimism, a resolution on Greece's debt standoff is possible. So what does that tell you here out of Bloomberg? When you look at, this happens to be Bloomberg, but it could be CNBC, it could be wherever. As we see just the possibility that it could be okay makes the stock market rise. And this is going to show you how fraudulent this all is. Nothing even happened, really, with the whole Greek deal here that I'm talking about today. In fact, nothing happened except an extension to what we've already been seeing. And that's how fake this market is. The Federal Reserve does not need to print money. The ECB does not need to print money. All they need to do is that they'll have to say that they'll print money, and everything will continue to rise. Look at this. TCW Group, which oversees 140 billion of US debt. He said this: "We never realize what the tipping point is until after it happens." He's the head of the US trading here. And we're as defensive as we've been since pre-crisis. What have I been saying all of this time? That the situation has now gotten worse or equivalent to the Lehman crisis or just even before that. And this is going to show you that this situation is getting bad. It's not, you can't just look at the stock market for your indicators. There's more in the article for you if you want to read it. I'm going to move on from a quote from my book, quoting the insider himself, Warren Buffett, in my chapter on the origin of stocks and the stock market. In the business world, the rear view mirror is always clearer than the windshield. Very interesting words there, basically going into what the previous individual had said, where we look at always seeing ahead into the future, trying to make predictions, but everyone seems to be a professional and everyone seems to be a know-it-all when they use the historical data. and they try to say, well, look, it's been going up, 200-day moving average, so therefore it's going to go up for the next so on and so forth, and it's going to test these new lows and all of these other terms that they like to use. I'm not really a big fan of that altogether, but this is what they predict, and this is going to show you that everything that we've been seeing so far, it's going to change. What we are headed into is the pre-crisis environment, perhaps even worse, perhaps the Great Depression, perhaps all of the different panics and depressions that we've seen prior to that. Crisis is the new normal for weary Greeks. This article is out of The Guardian, and it said, with seemingly never-ending panic over the last-ditch talks, many have this deadline fatigue that think their long-term solutions are out of reach, and in many ways that is very accurate. All of the time we're consistently seeing this information. I only bring out a fraction of the information that's actually out there. So imagine how much is really out there. Just on the Greek situation, people there are just fed up. And then when you look at people, in various countries around the world where they know debt is a problem, but they say, you know what, you only live once. So they take a maximum amount of debt that they can hold on to, and they just say, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to ride it right into the ground and hope for a hyperinflation. Well, I'll tell you right now, that does not solve anything at all. There is so much more going on deeper that people just don't realize. Tourists to Greece warned to bring extra cash. And you can see the Polish Prime Minister basically saying this: please do not count only on your ATM cards and on ATM machines, but take a larger amount of cash with you. If you're going on vacation to Greece, please keep checking the situation there, because it's going to be very dynamic. They're not the only ones really worried about this. It is everyone. And then to connect that in with what we've been seeing in the news a lot recently, over the recent years, that is, out of CNBC, overseas buyers snapped up more than $100 billion in U.S. real estate over the past year as the foreign wealthy sought safe shelter for their fortunes. So this is really happening here, particularly notable in the U.S., where people from overseas are basically buying up land, buying up real estate like crazy, particularly coming from China, of course. The individuals in the country, the US, the UK, what have you, oftentimes I'm finding are really cash strapped and debt ridden. And it's the foreign investors who are buying and propping up everything. Let's move on to this one last thing. Google didn't lead the self-driving vehicle revolution. John Deere did. And essentially the article gets into basically the whole self-driving cars, drones essentially, and this is going to be the new evolution of farming. It's already in existence today, but it's going to take off as it becomes more affordable. Now, what concerns me about this is that yet another profession is being outsourced. But in this case, it's not being outsourced to China, to Brazil, or what have you. It's actually being outsourced to automation. Yes, in a way, this is good. Obviously, it makes people's jobs a lot easier. But look at what's happened with farming altogether. We have had automation and machinery basically taking away a lot of jobs from people. And, this is good in some ways and bad in others, but we're just seeing this one after another being taken away, and people are in a worse situation now than they ever have been. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that very much. Last but not least, if you like this video, I know you'll like my book, The Money GPS. And that is available at Amazon, and they have a look inside feature where you can go there, flip through the book for yourself, and see if you like it. Take care.